everybody. My name is Jacqueline Delgado with Hub City Outreach Center. I am a substance use disorder prevention specialist as well as the co-founder. And today we have with us John Werflein. He's a forensic interviewer and in charge of community education at the Children's Advocacy Center of the South Plains. Hey, John.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Good.
Fabulous. So as you all know, April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and we're going to be talking to an expert in this helping field realm. So can you tell us a little bit about the Children's Advocacy Center?
What we do is we receive referrals from CPS or law enforcement to interview kids. And it's the most severe cases of child sex abuse, severe physical abuse, drug and endangered children, witnesses to crimes, interviews at the law enforcement request. And we're met here and we provide the forensic interview services. We also provide free trauma-focused therapy for the children that come through our center. That trauma is going to be with them the rest of their life. And what this trauma-focused therapy does is provides them tools, teaches them how to handle that trauma whenever it may be triggered later on in their life. We have a multidisciplinary team. We meet every 2 weeks here in Lubbock, and then we have 10 surrounding counties that we have signed agreements with that we meet every month. And that's just bringing everybody together that's involved in a child abuse investigation. Make sure that everybody has all the information that they need so that information can be given to the prosecuting attorney to see if charges need to be filed or not be filed. Mm-hmm. And of course, we do the community education program. I know we'll talk more about that here in a little bit.
Thank you. Well, that's a great introduction. Can you lead us into what some of the statistics are for the state of Texas of child abuse?
This is from the DFPS annual data book. In the state of Texas, there were 68,461 confirmed victims of child abuse. In Lubbock, there were 2,946. That's more than Midland, who had about 1,800. That's more than El Paso, who had a little over 1,800. It's a little more than Abilene, which had like 2,700. So it happens a lot.
Wow. I did see some statistics that in 2019, Lubbock had the third highest rate in the state.
Yes. They're always, unfortunately, 1, 2, or 3 up there in the top 5, usually.
Wow. And so what that looks like is for every 1,000 children, there was an average of 13 victims, while Texas had an average of about 8. So it's pretty insane how high up there those statistics are.
Yes, it is.
And so how frequent is it that you see cases or that your organization sees cases that involves drugs or alcohol?
We do talk to kids about in the interviews. We do talk, do you know someone that drinks alcohol, someone drinks beer? Well, a lot of parents drink, and that's not against the law. Mm-hmm. It's where it becomes a supervision issue if they drink to excess or do drugs that causes a supervision issue where they can't properly take care of their kids. A lot of the CPS statistics will involve drugs or alcohol use. We don't necessarily see those types of cases. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we usually see more of the severe types of that. So as far as having actual numbers, it happens often. We'll just go with that.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. And so I'm glad that you said that you see, you don't really necessarily collect all of that data, but you do know that it's a lot.
Yes.
Because sometimes we fail to remember that as complex human beings, we do have a lot of risk factors. So our biological, psychological, family, community, and cultural characteristics that put us at higher likelihood of experiencing behavioral health problems. And so, using drugs or alcohol can amplify that.
Yes.
And then, coupled with that, there's the characteristics that the individual, family, and community have that are protective factors. And seeing the different dynamics that go into play is, I bet, pretty interesting.
Yeah, you've got your normal stressors. And then to add on top of that, you have young parents, young kids having kids, single parents, and then with all the stressors in life, and then you add alcohol or drugs to that, that just increases the chances of becoming alleged perpetrators.
So there's an organization that's based out of Austin, deals with the law recovery scene, and they put out a new statistic that at least 25% of the United States has a first-degree family member with a substance use disorder, of which 90% live with a person that's active in their addiction. And so that kind of led me to think, wow, that's a lot of people who are experiencing those things. I wonder how many of those are actually young children who see the brunt of some of the negative consequences.
Right.
Mhm. So can you tell us a few red flags of child abuse and what that trauma looks like?
One of the big things I think we can look for is if you have a child that's acting in a certain way. Let's say this child is very outgoing, very a social butterfly, for instance, someone who just likes to be around people, likes to be around, their friends, and then all of a sudden they don't. They're just totally opposite. They are secluded. They go into their rooms a lot. They don't interact with the family. They're on their own social media, whatever they choose. But then again, look on the other side of it, you have a child that's acting okay, but they just don't want to be around people. That's their norm. They're more of an introvert than an extrovert. But then all of a sudden they're aggressively acting out, both sexually, both physically, doing things that's out of their norm. That's a big red flag, a big indicator.
Mm-hmm. Are you able to identify when a new case is actually like a cycle of family issues that's happened in the past?
We don't really have investigations. What we do is we do interview the children. Now, we do keep statistics on repeat children that have come through our center this year, last year, 10 years ago, whatever the case may be. And a lot of times we see a child in a drug endangered home, and usually there's more than one type of abuse in a home. It's called polyvictimization. There may be sex abuse, there may be physical abuse. Well, there's going to be emotional abuse, there's going to be neglect of supervision, possibly physical neglect, drug, alcohol abuse in the home. And then the family goes through CPS services, and then we see that child, of course, with the same mother, but maybe a different father down the road. And so that we do see cycles on occasion. I'm ex-CPS, and I see sometimes families that I investigated when I was in CPS, now their kids are having issues.
Mm-hmm. I bet that can be really hard.
Yeah, it can be on some occasions.
Mm-hmm. Some of the experiences that you just listed are known as adverse childhood experiences.
The ACE study.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So these traumatic experiences in childhood and in teenage years will put children at risk for violence, chronic health problems, mental health problems, and substance use in adulthood. And some of the ACEs take many forms. So it would be, like you said, experiencing violence, abuse, neglect, even witnessing violence in the home or community.
That's correct.
Or having a family member who's attempted to die by suicide.
Right. The family violence, the parents, or the guardians, whoever's raising the children, if they're having family violence in the home, if they have drug use and stuff in the home, they're training future abusers and future victims, whether they know it or not, because the kids are going to react and do, and that's where the ACEs. The more adverse things that they see when they're younger, when they get older, we're expected to see them to be perpetrators or victims of some type of abuse.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, great. Can you tell us a little bit about where to report and some other resources for assistance for reporting?
The state of Texas, anyone that's 18 or older that merely suspects child abuse, you don't investigate it. You don't have to interview a child. If you suspect something's going on, you're required by law to report it. The local hotline, the statewide hotline is 1-800-252-5400. And of course, if you feel that child is in imminent danger, like if the child may be going home with you, or the user's picking a child up at some point or whatever, then they need to call local law enforcement. Because if you suspect it, if you have that gut feeling that something may be going on and you don't report it, and then something does happen, then maybe that phone call may have stopped or got some help when needed.
Mm-hmm. So you said that y'all don't necessarily collect certain type of data. So what data do y'all collect that will help with the environmental strategies of preventing child abuse?
Well, in our safety programs that we do, of course, we collect the data of the children, how many children we have seen, things. And then we also collect data. The safety program that we provide in schools is called Play It Safe. And whenever there is an outcry, because we get outcries during the presentation sometimes in a classroom. So we collect that data. It's just like last month, a second grader made a report, sex abuse, after listening to the program. So we keep that data. And of course, community, the professionals that we talk to that work with children is the data we collect.
Wow, that's really powerful that a second grader was able to recognize that and say something.
Right. Because we tell them it's never too late to tell. It's not your fault. And if you've never told anybody, tell somebody today. Well, some of them listen and they do tell.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely difficult. Some of the things, so what we do is we provide substance use disorder prevention services and other services that help youth develop the capacities to achieve social, behavioral, mental health, and wellness. And so while we're digging into those things of, who you are and what type of person you are and the tendencies and your personality and all of those things, sometimes it's hard to, get them to cut through some of the things that they don't really recognize. So it's really important, the work that you do, because it's something that we see that's sometimes hard for kids to recognize.
Right. And another, like I said, we do training for adults that work with children on a day-to-day basis on how to recognize the different signs of child abuse and then the proper procedures to report it. Mm-hmm. And I believe I emailed you about this Keeping Kids Safe initiative that we have this on Thursdays. This Thursday, our training series is going to be recognizing and reporting child abuse.
Look at that.
Yeah, so it's perfect timing with this to come in, and the public is welcome to it. Just give me a call here at the center and we can get you signed up.
That's great. What other programs do you have for the rest of this month?
We have Recognize and Reporting on Thursday. The third Thursday in April, we have a program called Keeping Kids Safe in an Unsafe World. And I took stuff from our old safety program, the Yellow Dino program. I took stuff from Safe, all the trainings I've gone to, and it's really geared towards parents. Mm-hmm. On there's 21 ways to talk to your kids about abuse, and that comes from the Yellow Dino program. 8 red flags to identify child molestation, giving the parents a definition of what sex abuse is, what physical abuse is, and all the different signs, or all the different definitions of child. The last session, which is last Thursday, is grooming, stealing a child's innocence. It goes into the depths that a pedophile will use to choose a child, to groom a child, and to abuse that. And again, that's from the trainings I've gone through and then talking to, victims that have been groomed and what happens to them. Because grooming takes a long time. Usually the sex abuse or the abuse doesn't happen right away. It may be 6 months down the road. It may be a year down the road. But I don't want to get into too much because I want people to be curious and to come and
of course.
Listen. Yeah.
Of course. So do you have any final words to the families who may be struggling with their parent-child relationships?
If you need a break, learn to walk out of the room. I mean, if a parent and a child are just going at each other, take a deep breath, walk away. Just let yourself. Don't act out in anger. Yeah, you're going to get angry at your kids. I raised 2 boys. I still get angry at them sometimes, and that's normal. But don't act out. I mean, take a break, walk away. It's not that you're a bad parent if you call for help. The parenting cottage, office parenting classes, family guidance and outreach, Catholic family charities. There's places that you can go to reach out and say, "Hi, I need to talk to somebody." I think it's a better parent if you do that than hitting a child, abusing a child in some way. Yeah, parents can spank their kids. That's okay. If the parent chooses to do that. But if it's in anger, just take that breath and be a parent. Do not be a friend to them. We see a lot of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John, with the Children's Advocacy Center of the South Plains. Make sure that you check out all of their series that they'll be held in person on Thursdays from 6:30 to 7:30. And until next time, thank you, John.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.